Okay, beautiful. So let's start with Python for today. Okay, so today we'll be covering like very basic things, okay, which you all might be knowing. So people who know Python, so they might be feeling a little bored, but for others, it would be a learning thing. Okay, so from tomorrow onwards, like we'll jump into if-else conditions and slowly, like looping and all the different types of file reading, exceptional handling, and so on. Okay, cool. First of all, let's understand what is Python. Okay, people might ask you, people might not ask you. Okay, but we should understand basic things, why it is there, why it's not there. Okay, so we all know like Python is a general purpose. Okay, interpreted. Okay, interactive. Okay, and object oriented. Okay, programming language. Okay, can I say a small sentence like Python is a general purpose, it's an interpreted and interactive with object oriented programming language. Okay, we'll try to see those keywords. It has few syntactical, okay, it has few syntactical constructions, okay, than other languages. What I'm trying to say with like I'll try to explain these a little later. So okay, so when I'm talking about this keyword like syntactical constructions with compared to other languages, if you compare like your Python language with C++ or your Java, okay, so the way of writing syntaxes is far more simpler as it comes with Python. But when it comes to other languages, you need to follow certain instructions, and again like those instructions are a little lengthy also. Okay, that's why they are saying us it has few syntactical constructions than any other languages. Okay, it also says like what Python also says us is we don't need to use data types. Okay, we don't need to use data types or declare variables like other language. Why? Because it is dynamically typed. Okay, so there will be interview questions in your there will be questions in interview. So what is statically typed and what is dynamically typed? Okay, so let's understand what is dynamically typed. Okay, so we all know like what is compile based and runtime based. Any suggestions? What is compile based and runtime based? Yes, no.
Errors, compile time error and runtime errors.
Yeah, you can say compile time error also and runtime error also, even that will be fine.
Yeah, basically Java, Scala, and you need to define the type first. It will not allow declaring a variable without defining the data type. But
Okay, yes.
uh, Python allows as you, I mean, doing it on the go.
Yeah, so rightly said. See, what does compile time means is, okay, let's give a small description. So when you write a code, okay, when you write a code, so you need to compile it. Okay, which means that let's say if you're trying to let's take an example of let's say a carry bag. Okay, so once you're trying to put some items in the carry bag, so the load is tested at that moment of time, right? So that is like we can say, or let's say related to the compile time. But when you take the same items to the home, and let's say in that you had the vegetables, and when you're trying to cut those vegetables, it can happen those vegetables can be rotten, and some vegetables can be nice. So when you're trying to do something at that moment of time, you are trying to identify issues. Okay, so when you write a code, so you compile it, so that is nothing but your compilation. And when you execute a code, okay, so that is nothing but your runtime. Okay, because we need to be very clear with this small basic stuff. I do understand it will be very basic, but again, like We need to understand this nicely. Okay, moving ahead. Okay, so these are the things. Now let's try to understand what is interpreted means. Okay, general purpose. Let's understand what is general purpose. So Python is a general purpose, which means that Python is not specifically built to do front end applications, back end applications. So it has been built, and Python community is so huge and large. Okay, so it can be used for various multi-purpose applications, database programming, anything, data science, AI, ML, cloud technologies. So it can be used at multiple places. So that's why they say it's a general purpose. Okay. So what they are trying to say is Python is a general purpose. Then they are trying to say is it is interpreted. Okay. Now what does interpreted means? As we just discussed, okay. So Python is processed at runtime, right, by the interpreter. There has to be some person, like when you're trying to execute your code, so that is evaluated. So that is nothing but the interpreter. Okay, you don't need to compile your code before running your Python programs, because Python is dynamically typed. Okay, so interpreted means, so Python is an interpreter language. As soon as you submit your code, the interpreter evaluates your code. If any errors during the runtime, they are thrown as an output. Else, it is processed and the output is shown. So that's why Python is a interpreted language. Then the second thing is interactive. Okay, so Python is interactive. Now we all know what is interactive. Okay, so what interactive means is, in Python prompt. Okay, so in Python prompt, I'll tell you what is prompt and etc. So in Python prompt, we can write some code and get result. Similarly, again write some code. Okay, again write some code and get result. It means that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to pass few instructions, I'm getting some result. Again, I'm trying to pass few instructions and I am trying to get result. Okay, so that's why like Python is your interpreter language. Okay, so Python is a general purpose, interpreted, interactive, and object oriented language. Okay, so when it comes to object oriented, like we are all aware of like classes, okay, then the objects, okay, then the methods, okay, and etc. So all those concepts Python also supports. Okay, so if we speak about a small definition about Python, Python is a general purpose, interpreted, interactive, and object oriented language which has few syntactical construction as compared to other language. If we speak about Python, we don't need to declare data types. Why? Because it is dynamically typed, which means that it infers the data type internally. Okay, so we need to understand, like when we write a code, so that's a compiler based language. So there are languages which are compile based. Okay, when we speak about Scala, so compile, it's like a compile based language. When you talk about Python, okay, so it's a runtime based language, which means that your code is evaluated during the runtime. Okay, so it's just a small definition about Python which I have given. Now the question comes is, why Python? Because if you see, nowadays like everywhere we are trying to see Python. So why Python? Okay, so I can say Python is easy to learn, right? Why can I say Python is easy to learn? Because Python is like when I try to write a Python code, it is like more similar to a human readable language. Okay, so they are close to English language and very simple way of code and a simple structure. Okay, so that's why Python is easy to learn, right? If it's easy to learn, I can easily read also, and I can easily debug also, right? So So if I'm easy, and I can write also at the same time. Okay, so as we have told, like that is a interpreted language. Okay, now Python is an interpreted language, means that Python executes the code, okay, line by line at a time, okay, which makes our debugging easy. So interpreter, as we just discussed, okay, when you throw your code to the Python terminal, okay, internally it will execute your line by line, okay, at a time, and it will tell you what it is. So it's an interpreted language. Okay, like other languages, it also has a cross platform. Okay, so it's a cross platform. Now, what do you mean by cross-platform? We all know, like Python can be written or Python can be installed on any flavor, whether it could be Windows, Linux flavor, or any Mac of flavor. Okay, and similarly, if we are trying to write the same code on Windows, the same code can be ported or made portable to other environment also. That's why it says is it's a cross-platform language. Okay. Again, it is easily able to integrate or communicate with your any of your databases. We'll be seeing with MySQL, but you can do that with your Oracle database, MySQL Server, Teradata. For that, you'll have to install that softwares over you. That's the only limitation or restriction we will be having. Okay, so Python can easily integrate. Okay, then the most important point is it has a very large standard library. Because of that, Python use and Python popularity is growing in the market. Okay, if you see, like there are so many libraries which are available. If I want to talk to my Excel, I can just import Excel library. If I want to write some data frames, I can import some pandas. Okay, if I want to talk to some databases, again I can import MySQL connector. If I want to talk to like XML, I can import some XML libraries. Okay, all these libraries are readily available, so we don't need to invest our time in building those. So it has a very huge library, and if it has a huge library, definitely it will have a large support also because of its community. Okay, so that's why, because of these functionalities or these features, we can say like Python is growing, or Python is taking, or Python is becoming a popular language in, and it's already a popular language in the market. That's why if you see in the early days, there was a demand of Scala Spark, okay, and now slowly the demand is shifting to PySpark, okay. So that's how like Python is also trying to take over other languages, but it's not that the earlier languages or databases or whatever applications or the programming languages are available, they are getting deprecated. No, it's nothing like that. The only thing is something is used more heavily as compared to other one. Okay, so are we able to understand like a small introduction to Python? Any questions? I may not be able to see the chat, so you'll have to.
Saf Ubedia, I just want to know that it is an open source language or it's
It's a open source.
okay.
It's open source.
Right.
Okay, cool. So if we are able to understand this few basic terminologies or maybe like introduction to Python, okay, cool. So let's start writing the small Python programs, and let's understand what it offers to us so that we can learn and try to build some good data engineering pipelines. Okay, so let's try to write a small Python program. Okay, so I've all, for the people like who joined late, or maybe like what I have done is I've already given this compiler. If people do not have the virtual machine up and running, okay, what they can do is they can make use of this compiler, okay, just to write their code. Okay, so let's start. So Python, okay, so we can write the Python program in couple of ways. The first is we can write the code in an interactive way. The second is we can write some scripts and we can call those scripts. Mostly in projects, what we do is we try to write all our .py programs. Okay, when it comes to data engineering projects, we write the code in PySpark in a .py extensions, and we try to submit this code using a Spark submit command, which will be starting from next month. Okay, so let's understand how these two things means. Okay, first of all, let's understand what is interactive. As the name suggests, I can write the code and I can see the code. Let's try to write a small print statement. Okay, so let's say today is Saturday. We are learning Python. Okay, it's just a simple piece of statement which I am trying to write. Now this is your shell. If you want to do a practice, you need to type Python 3 because we are using Python 3 over here. Okay, and the version is 3.8 and the minors are like, again, like there will be so many releases. So now if you see, there is a interactive, or there is a prompt. So this is called a Python prompt. Okay, whatever things like you need to type, whatever like commands or code you are trying to write, just enter it and you will get an output. Okay, so just enter it, you will get an output. So this is the way like you are trying to interact, and the interpreter is executing your code line by line. It's an interpreted language. We don't need to define the types, as it infers the type internally. Okay, so it's just very small and plain stuff. So when it comes to script, let me open a new terminal. Okay, so now you need to be like, so as of now my window would be small, but I know like my second terminal is there. But if I want to come to my first terminal, I can just simply press Alt 1, Alt 2. Okay, so these are shortcuts you can play. So what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to go to my local file system path, and let's go to scripts path. Okay, so, and if I just try to do ls-ltr, and let me remove this first Python, and we should not have any files. Now what I'm trying to do is, I'm just trying to write my first python.py. Okay, just a small syntax, creating the file and writing the same piece of code. Okay, and if I need to execute that, so what I need to write python and the .py file name. If I execute that, I will be able to get that also. Okay, so in interactive way, what you do is you submit your commands, you get the result. You submit your commands, you get the result. When it comes to scripts, you build a script entirely and then you try to submit that script to your Python shell. Okay, now as of now, you can see this first Python is available under this directory. So you need to be available in that directory. Let's take an example. If you are available over here, okay, which is nothing but my, let's say, pwd/home/sef, and if I'm trying to execute that command, okay, it is telling me no such file or directory. Okay, as of now, if you see, this is like a file and I am available inside that file. Now I am inside that directory. Okay, so if you want to run from anywhere, so you need to provide the entire path. Okay, so you don't need to go with the relative path, you'll have to go with the absolute path, which means that I need to provide this entire path with my file name. Okay, so if we just provide this, and maybe like we should be able to see the same output. Okay, so these are small things which you all know, but again, like just trying to regroup and recall those things so that if we face issues, we should start debugging it, because once we go into the dev environment, okay, we are the developers, so we need to debug the code slowly and steadily, and that's where the practice will start from today onwards. Whenever you are facing issues, try to read the logs. Okay, try to read these issues, try to understand what they are trying to say, because 60 to 70% they will try to say, okay, this is the problem, so we need to think on that perspective. Sometimes it tries to give a weird errors at that moment of time. It becomes a little challenging, but again, like that comes by practice. or that comes by experience. Okay, so when it comes to script, write a script. Okay, inside that write a Python code. Okay, and execute that. That's how you will be doing this. It's a very straightforward. Okay, so nothing. Okay, move ahead. Let's try to understand comment section. So we all know, like in different languages we have comments. Okay, so when it comes to Python, okay, so we can comment single line comment also, and we can do multi-line comment also. Okay, so if it's a single line comment, straightforward, we will try to prefix that with a hash. Okay, and if it's a multi-line comment, what we will try to do is we'll try to replace, and let's say whatever our text is, whatever our text, let's say again, let's say I'm trying to write something, let's say multi-line comment, and finally closing it. Okay, so if you want to do a multi-line comment, so that needs to be embedded into double quotes, or sorry, 3 triple quotes. Okay, either that could be a single or double. Okay, so both things, like we can see, so it's straightforward, it's not a big deal that you'll have to do. So let me just quickly go over here. So let's say if I'm just trying to write something, okay, let's go to the script mode, that will give you a better clarity. Okay, so I think someone was actually, I don't know, like Tushar is facing an issue to join. I don't know like what issue he's trying to face. Okay, so let's go to the LFS and the scripts folder. Okay, then we were just trying to see this. Okay, so if you see, so it's just like go to the insert mode and just comment this. So this is one line comment, and if you just want to comment multi-line, so you just need to put your whatever you want to put. Okay, put your comments in multi-lines. That's what you'll have to do. Okay, so it's straightforward. You can just try to see by using cat command. Okay, so if it's a single line command and it's a multi-line command, you'll have to use a single character, single character as a hash. Okay, and here I just used, like, that should not have been used. Okay, so let me go to the, so here I should have made use of my triple quotes. Let's go to insert mode and let's try to write this. Okay, I just missed that, so that was just a quick typo from mine. Okay, so single line command, multi-line command, because you will be building the scripts, you will be writing the code, so you need to, as a developer, you need to say which piece of code what is doing. So as a developer, as a best practice, we always try to write a small statement that in this piece we are trying to achieve this. Okay, so as a best practice you'll have to do. Okay, there are no bypasses. Okay, cool. Also, what we can do is we can write okay, so in Python everything is like a statements, which we call, so we can write a single line statement which goes to your interpreter, it executes line by line, and also we can write a multi-line statement. Now if you see in this Python prompt, okay, what I was trying to do, so let's say I'm just trying to write a simple variable, or let's say I'm just trying to define a equals to 10 and I'm getting that value. Okay, so let's say I'm just trying to write again like b equals to, let's say I'm just trying to write Seth, and when I'm trying to type, so again like it's just a single line. If you want to do a multi-line, so single line is straightforward, or single statement is again like straightforward. Just define your variable, okay, and you will get. But what if, like, if you want to define your multi-line values in a single, so multi-line statement, that's what I'm trying to say. So when it comes to multi-line statement, okay, and this we would be doing very heavily when we'll try to write the PySpark programs. So in multi-line by default, okay, so whenever see this, like we don't know, but again, like internally this is taken care. Okay, whenever you try to write something on in a file, okay, by default it has a new line character. Okay, so when you want to write a multi-line statement, okay, what you need to do is, in Python we need to understand end of statement. End of statement is a new line character. Maybe once I move to explain function, at that moment of time I will explain Python functions and its arguments. So as of now, let's understand that at a very high level. Okay, so Python end of statement has a new line character, but we can make that new line character keep quiet. How? But what we can do is, but we can make a statement, okay, executed. What we can do is over multiple lines. How? Let's try to understand. Okay, what I can do is simply I can just write a, let's say 1 plus 2 plus 3. Okay, I just missed the, so here you need to give a backslash. So with the what it does means is, this is nothing but your line continuation character. Okay, when it comes to Python, it's called a line continuation character. And again, like you can start like, let's say 4 plus 5 plus 6, and again like so on. If you remember, like maybe like people who are trying to see the scoop videos, in scoop, like I have written like in one line also and in multiple line also. Similarly, you can execute your, or you can write your statements in single line or multiple line. Okay, let's see whether really it works or not. Okay, so here what I am trying to get is, I'm trying to get indentation errors. Okay, 1 2 3. So always, like after C, if you just let me come back, so 1 2 3 4, just try to give 4 spaces, because Python is an indentation language which I'll take later. Okay, but as it is giving me error, so let's eradicate that for now. Okay, so what is telling is invalid syntax. And how come that is invalid syntax? So let's say, is it like 4 plus 5? Let's clear out the screen. Why indentation A? 4 plus 5 plus 6. Invalid syntax. Okay, got it. Got it. Sorry. Sometimes, okay, so we don't use these kind of things heavily, so sometimes like issues will come. Okay, so we get some errors also. Okay, so I was just missing the concatenation operator, because again, like here, so it was missing. So sometimes if you see the errors like which I was trying to put this, okay, see now it was not giving the, it was just telling me invalid syntax. So sometimes, as I told you, 60% of the time it will try to give you a better readability error logs, but sometimes it will not give you a better readability errors. At that moment of time, okay, you just need to recall the concepts, you need to think on top of this, where I'm trying to make a mistake, and that was a live example of it. Okay. Okay, cool. So single line statement, multi-line statement, okay, all the things like I'm trying to take all, like it's all our basics. Okay, so today I'm just trying to refresh all your basic stuffs which you might all be knowing. For few people it will be, as I'm reinstating, so it will be new for them. Okay, let's understand Python identifiers. Can anyone tell me what are identifiers? Okay, any suggestions? Okay, no issues. A Python identifier, okay, a Python identifier is a name, okay, which is used to identify, okay, what they are used to identify. They are used to identify variables, functions, okay, classes, okay, modules, and so on. Okay, so identifiers are nothing but, like if we are trying to create a class, function, or if we are trying to give some variable names, okay, So they are called identifiers because they identify something. Okay, so when we are trying to write these, it has a certain rule which we need to follow. And what is that rule? An identifier, okay, an identifier starts with capital A to Z, okay, or small a to Z, or an underscore. So these are like basic thing, sorry, or an underscore. We need to understand that, and again, like, so again, it can be followed by any alphabets, letters, followed by letters. You can say numbers, okay, you can say digits, you can say anything. They can be done. But we need to understand that starting with, like, apart from this, we will not be able to create identifiers starting with any from apart from this, which means, like, let's say I want to start with special characters, any identifier name. I want to start with, let's say, numeric characters. I'll not be able to make. Okay, so this is what we need to remember. And again, one more important point: Python is a case sensitive language, or case sensitive, yeah, case sensitive language is also fine, which means that, okay, when I am trying to define some identifiers, so let's say that identifier name is, let's say, name, and let's say name something like this. These are two different identifiers for me. Okay, so let's try to test. So let's say if I'm trying to write, let's say, name, and let's say I'm trying to write Seth, and I'm trying to write name, and let's say I'm trying to write Obed. Okay, when I try to call name and when I try to call this, if you see, the identifiers are having the same word, and that word is nothing but name. But again, if you see, one is like in lowercase and the other is like in the title case or initial caps. Okay, so that's what they are asking us. You cannot start that, hopefully, with, can you see, it is telling us if I'm trying to start with number just to test whether are they valid or not. You just need to do negative testing as well. Yes, they are following certain things. So whenever you are trying to define your, okay, so this is like a comment, so that's why, and let's not use that, let's maybe, like, we can use this. Okay, so whenever you are trying to create any identifiers, again, we are not in a method, or we are not in a habit of creating this, other than this, we always start with alphabets only. But again, like, just we need to remember, okay, there are so many reserved keywords in every language. So the same case is available in Python also. I'll just say few because even I don't remember everything. So let's say like some AND operator, like some exec statement, not operator, okay, then let's say break, let's say continue. Okay, these are like few reserved keywords which you cannot use as an identifier. Okay, that's what you have to remember. Okay, then when it comes to quotations, quotations in Python can be, or let's say when you're trying to write some strings, you can embed those strings, or Python, let's say Python accepts single quote, okay, it accepts double quote, and it also accepts triple quote. Okay, however you want to denote your string, either in single quote, double quote, triple quote, it's your way of writing. Okay, what we can write is, let's say when I'm trying to write, let's say name, I can enclose this string in a single quote also, I can enclose that in a double quote also. Also I can enclose, like, let's say if you remember like the earlier scenario, okay, let me just write name equals to, let's say, triple quotes, and let's say my name is Seth. Okay, today I am showing Python basics, and I'm just trying to write something. Okay, if I'm trying to execute this, I'm trying to get, if you remember earlier I just told by default it has a new line character. If you want to suppress that, if you want to don't show, you'll have to suppress that by a backward slash. That is the first thing. Now, there should be a small question, at least in someone's mind. Seth, you told earlier that I can use my,
Yes, chef.
yeah,
Yes, so while writing multi-line command, do we need to follow some indentation?
well, writing, see, yes, Python is like an interpret, but again, like here, yeah. So let's say if I'm just trying to show you, and let's say, okay, so so here I have suppressed the new line character also, and I have removed that. But again, like I follow that indentation practice, because why I do that is because when we try to write that for loops, if condition, nested conditions, at that moment of time, it gives us like unnecessary issues. So I am in a habit of that. Okay, but it's not mandatory. And also, if you see earlier, I was getting a /9/n as a new line character, which was a default. So I have suppressed that using a backslash. Okay. Yes. Is it good?
Okay, thanks,
Okay.
chef.
Okay. Now there should be a small question. If you remember earlier, Saif, like you said, like we can write a multi-line comment, okay, and the same question someone asked, but that was like related in, I just remove that. That's not an issue. Even because I am in a habit, I will follow that, but it's not mandatory. Now, Saif, you said earlier, like I can write my multi-line comments in, like, say, using triple quotes, and I can write my strings which is spreaded over multiple lines, and I can close that. Then what is the difference between multi-line comments and triple quotes when I'm trying to use with strings? Then what is the difference? Anyone? Because you have the difference in front of your
Yes,
eyes.
I think you
chef,
can use
Bharat this
single
side.
quotes
In
with the triple comments.
both are triple comments, right?
Triple.
No, here we are assigning it to a variable.
Yes, yes, beautiful, beautiful. That's what I was expecting. Okay, so if you see here, we are assigning that to a variable, and that value is getting assigned. But here we are not assigning that. That is just to display. So a small difference, but again, like a very basic. Okay, if you remember, like earlier when I was trying to write a small statement and I was trying to execute and I was trying to get an output. But what if I want to write like multiple, I can do that also. Just you need to separate that with a semicolon also. You can write multiple statements with a separation of a semicolon. But again, that does not look nicer when you're trying to write as a development code. But again, like people follow, again, every project has its best practices. Once you go, you'll come to know. Okay, so these are like very basic things, and hopefully like you should be able to like get it, like what I was trying to deliver. Any questions till here? Whatever like we covered, like basic things. Yes, no, maybe. Are we able to understand? And again, like we
See
know all
Arif
these
here.
are basic things.
See Arif here.
No question.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so can we should do you want to take a break of 5 minutes, or should we continue? Again, like it's your call, because I am delivering, because I don't have any issue, but again, like people, like you are listening, so you should not get bored and you should not lose the touch.
Yeah, better we will provide 5 minutes break.
Okay, so let me pause on with now small topics. Okay, so this was like basic introduction to your Python. Okay, let's try to understand now Python variables. Okay, we all know what are variables. Okay, what are variables? So variable is nothing but, variable is a name, I can say. Okay, it's a name which is used, okay, which is used to refer some memory location. Okay, when I try to create a, let's say when I was trying to write a small syntax, okay, let's say a equals to 10, and if I'm calling a, so a is storing some value that is nothing but 10. Okay, that is nothing but some memory location. Okay, so variable is a name which is used to refer some memory location. Okay, and they are also known, and they are also known as, recently we studied that name, that is nothing but a identifier, okay, to hold values. Okay, what are variables? Variable is a name which points to a memory location, and is also known as identifier, which can hold some values, and it can be of any type. And as I told earlier, we do not need to define the data type because Python is smart enough, because it infers the type of that data internally. Okay, so as I told earlier, we sorry, whoops. As I told earlier, that we don't need to define data types. Why? Because it infers the type of that data. Okay, and how will I come to know? Okay, so let's say again I'm trying to write b equals to, let's say, Irfan. Okay, slowly, like if people are asking questions, I'll get to their names and voice. Okay, now if I try to go, let's say if I try to write type of a, it will tell me this is of my integer, and if I try to write my type of b, it will tell me it is a type of string. Okay, but I did not define this data types during the variable declaration. That's why Python says us is, you don't need to define, I will take that internally, which means that it infers the type of that data. Okay, it's pretty smart enough to do that, and it will do. As we have said the earlier, the at Python is a case sensitive. Okay, so name like initial caps and a lowercase has two significance. That's what we have seen earlier. But whenever, as a best practice in my projects, okay, whenever we define the variable names, okay, whenever we define the variable names, we always sorry we always define them, okay, using lowercase. Okay, let's follow that practice. Moving ahead, again, once you go to your projects, maybe it could be a different scenario, but if you want to follow, you can follow. If you don't want to follow, no restrictions. Okay, but I'm just trying to give whatever I am used to it. Okay, so variables are nothing but the placeholder which will refer to some memory location, and they are also known as identifier. We don't need to define the type, as it internally infers the type of that data. And always try to define your variable or identifiers with lowercase. That's what it says to us. Okay, we have already seen to define the variable like this. Okay, b equals to sef. That's what we have already seen. Also, what we have seen is, okay, I can write the same piece of syntax, okay, by, in just a single line, by separating that with a semicolon. Okay, that I have shown you. Also, what you can do is, you can assign the same value to multiple variables also. Okay, again, like it depends, like how it will be used, on which scenario it will be used. Okay, so but again, like you need to take care. But again, just I'm trying to show whatever the possible ways are there. Okay, so these are just like a small introduction to variable. Okay, now again, like here also we have one more flavor, a equals to b comma c, and let's say I can just write 10 comma 20 comma 30. So what will happen, a will be assigned as 10, okay, b will be assigned as 20, and c will be assigned as 30. Okay, so multiple variable assignments, single variable assignments, all the combinations are available. You can play with those things, and if you get errors, you can troubleshoot them. Now, very important person comes into picture is input variables. Why this person becomes important is because when you go to PySpark, okay, there when I want to see my Spark, how my Spark web UI is running. Again, it's very early to say that. So at that moment of time, I'll be using is, so let's understand. Okay, let's take a scenario. We might need, okay, to take a input from the user. Okay, people coming from Linux background, like we all know like how to read, like read is the command to take the input from a user. Okay, in a similar fashion, okay, when it comes to Python, okay, Python also gives us that flexibility. Okay, if you want to take a input from the user, okay, so they have given us a input function. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to write a small, okay, and one more thing again, like I'll show you over here, let's see that. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to write enter a number. Okay, small syntax or small small input with the help of let's say some instructions. I'm just writing a small Python statement. Okay, nothing else, and I just missed, sorry for that. So I should have written input over here. Let me recopy that and let's come back over here. So I just written a small piece of instruction. Okay, let's say I'm just trying to write, say numlock is off. Let's say I'm trying to write, let's say 555. Now if you try to see type of this variable or the identifier, it is string. So this is a very first important point, and the second important point is list, which we'll see later. In Python, again, like people coming from shell scripting background, they might be easily able to relate this. Okay, in Python, everything is considered as a string. Okay, do remember this point nicely, because when you're trying to write the code, there will be some scenarios you'll have to typecast, you'll have to move from one type to other and from other to the previous. So you'll have to play with it, because you won't be getting your output as you are expecting. So at that moment of time, you need to understand what is the piece of code I'm writing, what is the type of that, and what logic I'm writing. So it will be a permutation and combination of everything. Okay, now to eradicate this, what simply you can do is simply you can convert this to an int. So I'm just trying to do a typecasting. So let's say I'm just trying to enter, let's say 10, and if I'm just trying to write a type of number, now it is giving me a class of integer. So the important thing what we came to know here is input is a function which can take anything from a user. Okay, and by default Python has a type which is nothing but a string. Okay, so we need to convert it. Okay, so as we have input variables, we don't have called output variables, but we need to create it and we need to use that in output variables. How? Let's understand. Okay, so we got to know what is input variable and we got to know what is the default type, and we typecasted it. That is like pretty simple and straight, no issues. Now when it comes to output variables, okay, so Python print statement, okay, Python's print statement is often used to print output variables, I can say. Okay, how? We'll write it. Okay, now let's say I'm just writing a small piece of code. Let's say small line of statement, I could say in Python terminology. Okay, so I'm just writing easy to learn. What I've done, I've defined an x, and to that x I've just defined some string, and I'm just writing a small print statement. In that print statement, I'm just writing Python is, and I'm just referencing that string over here. Okay, so let me clear off the screen and let me execute this piece. So here the variables which I have defined, or the identifiers which I have been defined, I'm using them in my output. Okay, so they are termed as output variables. Okay, so again, like this is not so important, but again, like good to know. Okay, there are certain things. Okay, now let me just come back over here, and again, like with practice you will come to know when we need to use plus, when we need to use comma, okay, when we need to use a dot format. Again, like I'll be showing moving ahead. Now if you see in the earlier two statements, I am seeing my output same, but again way of writing is different, correct? Now let's try to do a small change in this. Okay, now what I'm trying to do is, let's say, let me go to my x as a variable. So let's say I am writing 10 over here. Okay, when I'm trying to execute this is giving me an output, but when I'm trying to use my first, it is giving me an error. Okay, so I'm just trying to explain the significance of plus. Okay, it is telling us can only concatenate string, not integer to string. As I told you, Python is smart enough to give us the errors which we can recognize. So 60 to 70% errors, okay, 60 to 70% errors which Python will be able to give us the errors, and we should be able to identify. But sometimes, as we had a small issue a little earlier at the start of the class, so you will come to know with that, like by experience and by practice. Okay, now it's telling you you cannot do a concatenation. So see, this plus is used. Plus is nothing but again like a operator of a function to a Python. Okay, so that is nothing but a concatenation operator. So that's why here it was a string and here it was a string. That's why it was giving us an output, as I told you earlier. Okay, everything is a string in Python. But now when we are trying to concatenate, it is complaining us that I'm not able to do. Okay, this is giving me output, but this is not giving me an output, right? So at that moment of time, what you'll have to do is you'll have to just typecast this. Okay, just you'll have to typecast this, and integer is not string. Okay.
We need to convert it in string.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it is already a string, and I'm sorry, it is integer, and I was typecasting to that only. Okay, so I should have done string. Thanks for the. Okay. So just a small variation in the syntaxes. Okay, nothing else. It's not a big thing, but again, like good to know knowledge. Okay, so the same piece here and here it's working, but again, individually it has a meaning. See, we need to understand the concepts. If we understand the concepts, then writing the code and building the logic comes by time, and again, like resources are available to us. Okay, but we need to understand what it is giving to us. If we understand that, then then life becomes easy for us. So that's why, like, I'm just trying to go small and easy. People might be knowing this as I'm just reinstating my thing, but again, for few people it would be like new things. Okay, so for them, let's go with in a slow pace. Any questions still here?
Hi, sir. This is Satyajit.
Yes, Satyajit.
Lastly, you have defined Python is something in between in between double quotes. I mean, like, although you have removed that one,
This
on the
one.
command prompt. No, not there. Already you cleared that one, I think.
Which
And
one?
after that, you're trying to execute with that one. It is giving some error.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So I think let me write that. So the issue was like I was typecasting to integer and it was giving me an error. This was the issue. Are you talking about this?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So what? Because if you see, this is a string. I should have typecasted to a string. Please be on mute. So I should have typecasted to a string, but not an integer, because this x is already having an integer value, right? So that's why it was giving us an issue that you are trying to do something inappropriate. So that's where like I just changed that to string and I got my output.
Okay. If you compare with the Java, so for example, Java, we are writing something between like system.out.println, something in between,
Yes.
and we are print
Yeah.
a class of something.
System.out.println. Yeah.
Here is
So
totally different. Like if it is string between, then we need to convert the other one also string.
correct.
Then it will be the output. Is it?
It's not mandatory that concat. Yeah, but again, like the output is a string. So again, like you need to understand like what are you trying to do over here. If it would have been like, let's say, okay, so if it would have been like, let's say, when I'm trying to write, when I'm trying to write a save, plus, again, this is again we need to cover at a later, but again, like the point is raised. So if you see, this is concatenating as a string. But if I'm trying to write 10 plus 20, it is very smart enough to decide this, that this is a function which is nothing but a mathematical operator. Okay. So as I told you, Python will always be, so this year on string, it will be working as a concatenation. But when it comes to mathematical operation, it is able to do that. So it has a significance when we go to strings. It has a significance when it comes to mathematical operations. So that's where, like, here the same significance I was trying to show in these two statements.
Yeah, got it.
ठीक है? Okay, cool. ठीक है? So I hope like there should not be any issues. Any questions? Please let me know. We are going with slow pace and let's grip the basic things. ठीक है? Cool. Let's understand the print function. We understood the input function. Let's understand the print function, which we are writing right from the word start. Okay. Now, this is very important to know. Okay. It has a certain syntax. Everything has a certain syntax, but few sorry, few important things are there which has a certain meaning, and I will try to show that meaning wherever it is required. Okay.
Side one quick question.
Yes.
Ranjit here. So you are using this print and everything, right? So which version of Python actually it is using right now when it is like, trying to
Okay.
execute
Okay.
these statements? Is it used?
Yeah, maybe like you joined a little later. So here, okay, we are using, okay, again, that is a very point which you raised, which called me. If you see in earlier days, like in Python 2, okay, so the print function did not had the semicolon, open parenthesis and close parenthesis. Okay. But when it comes to the newer version, which Python 3, okay, so we are using, let's go to the, sorry, Alt F2 I should have said, and Alt F1. Okay, I only have one screen. Alt F1. Okay, so let me open a new screen. Okay, so if you see over here, which version I am using, as someone asked earlier also. Okay, so if I just type Python, sorry, I should have written exit with semicolon. Okay, so Python hyphen version. Okay, and the same way, like in this Ubuntu virtual machine, I have both the things. We will be making use of the latest Python version because we will be going with all the latest ecosystem. Okay, but everything is installed, but Python have started, means like they are trying to stop the support for Python 2, so they are encouraging us to use Python 3. So in the entire module and moving ahead also, we will be moving with Python 3 onwards. Okay.
Okay, but when you actually execute now, we're not specifying anything, right? Like when
Okay,
you say
yeah, got
print,
it.
it is
So
like
yes. For that,
yeah.
what we have done is, okay, if you just see over here, okay, so let me come out of this. Okay, clear out the screen. Now I cannot write my print function over here, right? Print, and let's copy this statement. Sorry, let's copy this piece of statement. Okay, let's say print. Okay, I cannot write this statement over here, right? So let's say, let me remove this also. Okay, so it is not expecting, so it is telling some Python. Okay, so if I want to start my Python terminal, okay, either you can write Python. So by default, it is going to the older version. Okay, now as we are using the latest version, so that's why I'm starting my terminal with Python 3. So here
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
telling that
got
please
it.
use Python 3. Okay,
Yeah, thank you, sir.
no issues. Cool. Let's make a move. So Alt F1, F2. Okay, I need to click on this. So why that is not working for me? Okay, Alt 1, Alt 2. Okay, okay. Let's come back and let's start with the print function which I was trying to explain. Okay, now it has few arguments. What are those arguments? So the first one is the object which you need to print. If you recall, like when we are trying to write, let's say, when we are trying to write, let's say, print something like this. Okay, So in this I'm trying to print this object. Okay, so that's the first argument. Okay, the second argument is separator. Okay, so the by default separator is I think space. Okay, then the new line character which we have already seen is nothing but /n. Okay, and whenever we are playing with the file or as of now, okay, so the standard or the output which we are getting in the where we are getting the output, so we are getting the output in the terminal. So by default it using the system library, so we need okay, and standard out which means nothing but a terminal. Standard in, standard out, standard error, people coming from Linux background, so they know that standard error, standard out, standard in. Okay, so print function has these 4 arguments. As of now we are just using only this. Okay, so if you want to print, okay, so let's try to see small examples. Let me clear off the screen. Let's say I'm trying to write print. Okay, so let's say 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4, and let me use the separator as, let's say, okay. So if you see by default, like I'm trying to get certain some things. Okay, I think like I need to, it's just about what I said earlier, default is space. That is not the exact case, so I'm sorry for that. Okay, so whatever separator you need to provide, okay, you can give that. Okay, it has like arguments like separator, and we have already seen, okay, if you remember, like and like where we were just trying to give the multi-line comments. So in that multi-line comment it was coming the /n as a character also. If you want to diffuse or if you don't want to use, you can suppress that using backward slash, which we have already seen, and the output we are getting on the terminal, that's why it's a standard output. Okay, so these are the arguments. Like print statement, you'll have to remember very matlab, again it will come by practice and slowly it will come, so don't worry about this. Then a very important concept comes is, okay, output formatting, because whenever you are trying to write the code, the output should be in a very neat manner and variables should be called and the respective values or whatever, like you need to play with those things. Okay, so what will happen is sometimes we need to format our output, okay, to make it look attractive or to make it look good or cleaner to eye. Okay, so to make it look cleaner, I can say in my own words, let's say cleaner or attractive, whatever it could be. Okay, for that we would be using one of the method that is nothing but format, and that format is coming from str method. Again we'll see the different types of data structures like string, list, tuples, set, dictionary. At that moment of time each data structure has different methods, so we will see at later, but as of now I'm just giving a small hint. So the format is coming from the string method. Okay, so let me write a small statement. So let's say x is equals to 10 and let's say y is equal to 20. Okay, so I'm just writing a small statement that is nothing but x equals to 10 and y equals to 10. Now when it comes to formatting, I can write the string format. How? Let's see. Now what I can write is the value of x, and or let's say the value of yeah, so let me write like this. The value of x is this and y is this. Okay, so here if you see I have written like empty braces. Okay, empty open and close braces, so these are nothing but my placeholders, and with the dot format which comes from my string method I can format my output. Okay, how can I, like it's just like a very basic I'm trying to show. Moving ahead, like we'll try to format. Okay, now if you see these two placeholders were nothing but my identifiers or variables which were referring to a memory location, okay, in my Python shell. Okay, so I am trying to reference that in my output. So if you see, I'm trying to use the value of x is with the empty open braces, close braces and years. With the format, I'm trying to reference those two variables. So dot format gives us a better flexibility to write the code in a neat and tidy way. Okay, if I write my vice versa, I'm getting my output twisted. Okay, again, like they have a lot of meaning. So first method is like using the referencing the variables as is. Okay, that is the first method. Okay, so the curly braces which I am trying to refer, okay, so the curly braces are nothing but your placeholders of identifiers or variables. Okay, whatever you can say or you can understand. Okay, so the first method I have used is like just with the dot format and referencing them as is. Okay, so that's the first method which I have used. There is one, like there are multiple methods, but again, like whichever feels comfortable to you, as I told earlier, you can make use of those things. It's not necessary that whatever I'm trying to show, you need to make use of that only. Okay, now here I can use my positional also, positions like I showed a little earlier. So positions I can use and I can make use of that. How? Let me write a small code. Okay, so what I'm writing is, let's remove this. Okay, so let's say I love something. Okay, let's say I'm placing it, let's say under 0. I love this with something, let's say this. Okay, now if you see in this placeholders, I'm writing some positions, right? And I'm trying to define those positions in my format statement. So let's say first and second. So let's say I love, let's say I love bread, okay, with butter. Okay, so I'm just copying this piece of statement and I'm executing it, I'm getting an output. As I just showed earlier, okay, if I just twist this the same way, like again, it's how you write the code, how you define the positions, okay, it will come into your picture. Okay, whatever, again, it's like, so these are like you call positions. So you can play with your, sorry, these are called your indexes. Okay, let me just replace this. So let's say these are indexes. Okay, and the third thing is nothing but, let me just take it up so that it will be visible to your in front of your screen. Okay, we can also use like keyword arguments. Okay, so what are keyword arguments? Okay, same thing. So let's write a small print statement. So what I'm trying to write is hello Seth. Okay, let's say we'll try to pass a greeting message. How are you? So let's greet Seth. Okay, so here let me just write some variable name. Let's say I'm trying to write name. So hello Seth, how are you? Okay, so here I'm trying to use my format. Okay, and here like earlier what I can say is, okay, so when I'm trying to write my greet, so here I can assign something. So what I'm trying to assign, and I think this should not have been there. Yeah, so that is I'm making a small typo. So here let's say greet, let's say how are you brother. So let's say I'm just writing how are you. Okay, and the second is nothing but name. So let's say just write name Seth over here. So here I'm trying to use my keyword arguments. Okay, so even if you switch your positions of your arguments, still we will be able to get our answer. Okay, because in the earlier scenario, if you are trying to switch our statements, it was giving some a little changed answer. Okay, but again, like there are different ways. Okay, so you can just make use of format, okay, in 3 different ways. In a normal way, in a plain vanilla flavor, you can make use of indexes, or you can change it 1 or 0 over here, again your output will change, or you can make use of keyword. Okay, basic things, but again you might be knowing, but just good to share with this knowledge. Then a important factor like percent operator also comes, which help us when we are dealing to format the data in numbers. Okay, as the scenarios come, we will be keep on seeing those things. Okay, let's take a small scenario. Let's say I have an integral value of, let's say, 100, and let's say I have like 4 5 6 7 8, some value like this. Okay, let me, and when I'm trying to print this, so I'm getting an output. Okay, but I don't want everything, I just want two decimal places. Okay, straightforward. So what I will do is I'll just write print, okay, the value of x is, okay, so you need to use percent operator. Okay, how many character or how many precision values you want. I want 2f 2. Okay, so and you just need to pass the percent x, that's it. Hopefully we should be able to get 100.46, because it is just based on your the third precision value, it is increasing if it is like greater or equal to 5, it is getting increased. But that is not the idea behind to show me. The idea behind to show is I can format my numbers also with percent operator. Most probably I'll be showing slowly and steadily, more things will be coming. I will be writing the tables, and then we'll be calling this. People coming from C or C++ background, they might be able to remember the format strings, how we used to write the format strings in strings, floats, integers, and the string. So same Python also provides. Okay, so with the output formatting, we can do on strings, we can do on numbers, integers, and floats also. Okay, small thing and basic thing. Now we are understanding the variables, so we have a concept of global and local variables also. Okay, so there are some variables which are local and which are global. Okay, how they can be referenced and how they can be called, let's understand that. Okay, so let me clear off the screen, let's write the code over here and do copy paste. Okay, cool. So let's understand. So we variables that are created outside a function, as of now ignore the keyword function, and whatever I'm writing we will be taking nicely maybe in the second week, so don't worry for now. So the variables which are declared outside the function, they are known as, okay, they are known as your global variables. Okay, and variables which are declared inside, they are referenced as local variables. Okay, the name itself suggests and clearly it says something related, we are trying to do related to local variable. Let's understand step by step how we can write some variables, use it internally, or if you want to access an outside variable, what keyword will help us to access and make it global. Okay, cool. So what I'm doing is, first thing is I'm just trying to make some variable or the identifier. Let's say x is awesome. I'm just trying to define, and I'm trying to define a function, and let's say that function name is my function. Ignore for now, don't dig into this, that's not mandatory for us. The concept which I'm trying to explain is local and global. Let's focus on that. Okay, 1 2 3 4, I always give 4 spaces to maintain the indentation. Okay, I'm trying to use a print statement, and in that print statement I'm just writing is python is, and as is the string, I'm just calling that. Okay, let's copy this piece of code, let's come to the editor and let's paste this. You need to hit one enter and again one enter so that your function gets created. Now if I'm trying to call my function, okay, it is giving me Python is awesome. So it is using a variable which is being assigned, so no issues still here. Okay, now if you see, this is the variable which I have created, okay, and the variable is outside my functions, as clearly visible. Okay, what I can do is, if you create a variable, let's create a variable with the same name inside a function, and this will be local to that variable. Okay, as of now I have not started with my local and global, so I just defined a small function and I'm just referencing it. Okay, so I'm getting my output as of now. Now let's try to, so x is already defined for me, okay, but in place of this, so let me copy this same function over here. Here I'm trying to define some value. Let's say I'm trying to say fantastic. Okay, and let's use this again, so that it will be referenced again. It's already in the session, but let's make it clean code so that whenever you are also practicing, you should not get any issues. Now if you just see, I'm trying to write a small function and I'm trying to call that function. Okay, I have a variable outside my function or an identifier which is inside my function. Now if you see, this is just a 3-line of function, and inside that a variable is defined which is being referenced in my output whenever I am doing a function call. So which means that this is a local variable to a function. Okay, nothing else, it's very straightforward. Local, we should not get any issue. So let's say this is like a local variable. Okay, now when it comes to, and let's say if I'm trying to x, so what I'm getting, x is awesome. If you see the difference, when I'm trying to call my function, I'm getting Python is fantastic, but when I'm trying to call my x, I'm trying to get a variable value that is awesome. Okay, so I'm not getting a variable value which is defined inside my function. So understand these terminologies and the behavior of the declaration. Okay, so something is local, so it will work in that piece. Something is defined outside, so that is available to everyone. Okay, cool. So that is the first thing. So far so good. Okay, now let's try to make it a global keyword, global variable. How and we how we can make that and we can make use of it. As I told you earlier, okay, so let's try to define a function, and let's use, like, you can use any function name. If you want to give every time a new function name, you can give that also, no issues. You just need to use a keyword, and that keyword is nothing but a global, and you just need to make that as x. Okay, and let's say I think that is sufficient, or let's say x is equals to, let's say not x, because it will override there. So let's say I'm trying to write fantastic. Okay, and I'm just trying to write a print statement. Okay, and what is this print statement? I can write this print statement inside my function, or I can call that and pass that also, again like playing with the functions. Okay, so I'm just writing Python is so that is awesome, and let me concatenate and fantastic. Okay, so let me copy this, let me clear off the screen. Okay, so I'm just writing this. Okay, and it is giving a small error. Okay, so that error is that is a string which is concatenated, and this is also done.
I think plus sign should become a little bit.
Let me, what?
I think it is indentation error.
No, it's not an indentation error, because I have already, because the function is acha. Yeah, thank you so much, I did not recognize it. Thank you so much. Yeah, and again, like it gave me a prompt, but I was focusing on the code. Okay, so let's recopy this. That's why, like, Python, the only pain in Python is just the indentation. Otherwise the rest, everything is like piece of everything is good. Okay, so let's call this function Okay, and again, like, there are no spaces, but again, like, you can give those spaces and you will get that. So Python is awesome and fantastic. So if you see now here, I'm trying to reference my global variable also, which is like outside my function. Okay, and I'm trying to reference my variable which is my inside my function also. Okay, so in a similar way, when we will be writing some codes in PySpark, okay, so we will be defining some functions in some file, okay, and we will be calling those functions into a program. So at that moment of time, you need to understand this concept, where I'm writing this, where I'm calling that, in which function I'm calling. Is that function a part of this program, or is it a global function which I can call? So all these permutations and combinations which we'll be playing in PySpark. Okay. So any questions in understanding a concept of local and a global variable? Looks straightforward, looks clean.
A global we can define outside of this function, correct?
Yes, the variables which are being defined outside the function are termed as global until unless they are not used with a global keyword. If you want to use inside a function, you need to tell that, okay, this is a global, so I want to reference my earlier values also.
That means
Okay.
each on variable is a global, so we need to define it explicitly, right?
Yes, so the keyword that is a global which will have to define explicitly.
Yeah, but this global variable will be useful for any function then.
Yeah. If you define multiple functions, and that functions will be having referencing the same value.
So its scope will be the function specific, or what will be the scope?
If you just print x and if you just print y, I'm still getting my for this local it is for that, but if you see my x, still I'm getting that value, right? So for global it will be always at the global level, right? For this function for this local, so the scope of this identifier, which is y, which is having a place that is fantastic, that is only to this function only. Got it?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so
Seth,
yeah,
just one question. Since we have defined that x as a global variable outside of
see,
my function,
x, when I have defined x, Saurabh, I have not said that it's a global variable.
okay,
It is just a variable or an identifier.
okay.
Yeah,
Can
please
I
go ahead.
mention global keyword there
Okay,
outside? I'm just asking.
here, no. So if you just see, let's say, let's say global x equals to, okay?
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Any questions? Anyone? No questions? Okay, so if no questions, then let's take a quick break of, let's say, so there was a question, like the question is, what is significance of writing global keyword inside a function? Okay, so when you write a global keyword inside a function like this, how I have written, okay, let's write that. Okay, so can you tell me now what will be the output of this? Whatever explanation which I get, what will be the output?
Yeah, it will show the output as a
Python
fantastic.
is fantastic.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so when this, if you see, I'm trying to reference my global variable, but it's this is a reference, but its placeholder or the memory location is getting changed. So that's why my output will be different. Let's test that quickly, whether are we right or not. Okay, let's clear off the screen. Okay, so and let's call that function. Okay, and if I call my x, okay, so this is now this. Let's remove this, okay, because we don't want to confuse, or let's say remove this, we don't want to confuse. Okay, now if I'm just trying to execute this piece of small code, okay, when I'm trying to call my function, okay, so what is the significance of global? So whatever variables or identifiers which are defined outside my function, with the help of global, I can reference them inside my function logic. So that is the significance of that. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay, let's make a move. Any questions, anyone, before making a move? So now my pace will be a little fast because these are very basic things. So I might, let me know if my pace is too fast.
So if I don't give that global in the same above example, we just say define my function and then print Python is X. What will be my output here?
So this x is Gauss term. So my function, I need to remove this, right? Global,
Yes.
and I just need to type this, right?
Yeah. Just print.
Okay. So let's what's your understanding on this? What you say?
I think it's still print awesome, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Because
So
because we are not using as of now anything. So it's just a simple like statement is being called, nothing else.
my question
Even
is
if I,
like,
yeah, I do understand. Sorry.
e-
Huh.
yeah. So what I'm saying is like, even without using global X, if I just say X equal to fantastic, it still overrides the value to a local value, right? Like
Yeah.
within the
If,
function
yes,
also,
yes. If
it
I
just
just write
prints the same
x
thing,
x
correct?
equals to fantastic, yes, definitely fantastic.
But here in local, we are calling the variable, na? That's why it is coming as a fantastic.
That's what actually. See, now what the problem is here, like both the variables are named x. That's why, like, okay. What in terms of local and global is whatever is inside, so that is local. Whatever is outside, it's global. Now, the referencing point here, I have just given x and here x. Okay, so let's say if we change this, let's clear out the screen. Okay, now, so don't worry all those things. So just like inside, like, but again, like this one, y is equal to fantastic and it's awesome. Yeah. So it is it's the print statement again, like it is referencing, but I have not referenced y over here. So if you see, just forget about it because print is like again taking my outside function also. But if I want to call that into my inside again, like without this, okay, this is very just a small example. But again, like when it comes to a little more real time examples or some real world use cases, at that moment of time, that print, it's just a variable call won't help us, right? So at that moment of time, there will be some calculation format for, let's say, this x I want to reference in multiple variables. At that moment of time, that can be termed as global.
Hi, Seth, Bharat this side. Like in this function, if we define y as a global variable, and if we call y in some other function, then at that time, this whatever y we will be defining in my func, that will be printed in the other function as well, right?
So again, like that will be like inheritance concepts will be there. So again, we'll have to look those inheritance concepts. As of now, let's not deep dive into that. But yes, we'll have to make some, like we'll have to call that, we'll have to write a proper syntax so that this function's variable is referenced into another function. So again, like private, protected, all those comes into picture. Okay, as of now, let's not confuse ourselves. So we'll just keep it simple because it's too early to go into deep dive there. So local and global, let's understand that for now. Okay?
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Okay, so let's quickly make a move and let's finish off these topics today. So let's understand data types. Okay, again, we all know data types, so I'll not invest much of the time over here because I might be a little fast. Wherever you get issues, let me know. Okay, and my pace is fast, let me know. Okay, but we know like all the data types. So let's understand. So variables can be of different types, right? Okay, as we have seen, like what we have seen, python is dynamically python is dynamically typed language. Okay, hence we need not define define any types. That's what we have seen, right? So python is dynamically typed language, hence we not define the types of data it infers because it just wait a minute. Recording, sorry for that. So what I was trying to say is, okay, python is dynamically typed and internally it infers the types of the data. Okay, because it infers the type of that data. Okay, so there are different data types for us. So we have string. Okay, we have numbers, we have integers. Okay, we have floats. Okay, then we have complex. Okay, again, like it's not mandatory to know all those things because we all know, so I'll not go into this. String, like again, like we know like what is string data type. Okay, so anything something like will be like string, so it's just straightforward. When it comes to integers, okay, any integral value as a whole number. Okay, when it comes to floats, so let's say like 10.25 anything. When it comes to complex, so let's say x plus ij, where x is a real number and I and j is some like arbitrary number. Okay, so for now like we will be like I'll not go into this because we all know data types and hardly we'll be making use of it in the data engineering, so let's not understand. Now when it comes to data types, okay, there is a point where we need to typecast it, and we have seen one small scenario where we were trying to concatenate string with integer and we were not able to do that. Okay, so whenever like the types are there. Yeah. Hello.
Hi, sir. Your voice is breaking in between.
Okay, is the voice?
It's my network problem.
Can you repeat the last sentence, sir? We could not hear you.
Okay. Are you able to hear now? So is maybe like the broadband fluctuation.
Yes.
Okay. See, what I was saying is there are different types of data available to us. Okay, string, numbers, integers, floats, complex. Okay, so like Ceph. So I've just defined a string, I've just defined a number, and I've just defined a float, and I've just defined something complex. Okay, so x here is nothing but an integral value, and this is nothing but some imaginary value. Okay, thank you. So let's come back. So what I was trying to explain in the terms of data types. Okay, so the typecasting becomes very important. Okay, and again, like we will be playing with it. So if you remember the earlier scenario, okay, in the earlier scenario, what we were trying to do is like x is equals to 10, and we were just trying to use that in print statement. I was just trying to write, let's say, value of x is something I was trying to write, and I was just trying to concatenate this over here, and it was not working for us. Okay, so which I have already told, and I've already told. So here we were getting, so at some moment of time in like moving ahead scenarios, when it comes to Python or when it comes to PySpark, you will have to typecast your data from one type to other. Okay, so that's where your typecasting will become important. So see the errors. Okay, see the issues what they are prompting us and just typecast that. Okay, so when it comes to data types, so this is these mostly like we'll be seeing these kind of data types. Okay, apart from this, Python provides us few data structures also, and which we would be seeing moving ahead in minute detail. As of now, we are at very basic level, so I'm just giving a small introduction to them and moving ahead. Okay, moving ahead, like every data structure has individual topic, so it will take nice time over there because each data structure again has their own methods, so we need to understand that methods also. Okay, so the first data structure is nothing but a list. Okay, so what is a list? List is an ordered sequence of items. We all know, like, it's a simple term I have written. It's an ordered sequence of items. Okay, I will try to see how what does that mean. Okay, all the items in a list do not need to be of same type. Okay, when I say type, it means data type. Okay, it can be of any data type. Items, when I'm trying to say, it's nothing but your elements. Okay, items or elements, whatever you understand it appropriately. Okay, so items or elements are separated by comma. Okay, and enclosed within square brackets. Okay, we can use slicing operators. Okay, we can use slicing operators to extract an item or range of elements or items from a given list. Okay, we'll try to see how we can do later, but as of now I'm just trying to explain few crucial points which are needed to understand this data structure. Okay, then the index starts from zero in Python. Okay, and the last very important point is lists are mutable in nature. That means that its values can be changed. Okay, lots of theory. Let's understand. List is in a sequence of ordered elements. Okay, so whenever we are trying to define, so they are always in the order, means like however we are defining, so we will get the same output. The order will not change. The second point is all the elements should not be of the same data type. I can write my list, and the list elements can be like numbers, floats, integers, or strings also. Okay, if I want to extract some of the elements from the entire list, I can use my slicing operators and I can get that. To get that, I need to use indexes, and the indexes starts from 0 in Python. And the last very important point is lists are mutable in nature. Okay, few definitions. Let's try to understand now. Let's say I'm trying to say list is defined in square brackets. So let's say I'm trying to write a string. Let's try to write a number. Let's try to write a float. Okay, and let's write one more string. So if you see over here, I'm having the data types or the elements in my list. So let's say type of X. Okay, so it is giving me a list. Okay, if you remember the first important point which I told, in Python everything is considered as strings. Second thing is, once we go to PySpark, and mostly like here also, like the output will be mostly in your list. Okay, so these two things you'll have to remember as a very strong baseline, because moving ahead we will be playing with all these things. Okay, so the output will be a list, and mostly like the strings we need to remember. Okay, now if you see here, I have different types of data, right? Okay, either you can define like this, or let me copy this and let me define with a new variable name. So what I can do is simply I can, let's say, list, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, copy this piece. Okay, type of Y. Okay, again the declaration here it's in enclosed brackets, here also in enclosed brackets, but here I'm explicitly telling that I want this as a list. Okay, internally also it identifies with the help of square brackets, but again, like, there are way of a style of writing codes, so don't get confused with those things. Now if you see, they have told us this is the 0th index, this is the first, this is the second, and this is the third index. Okay, let's say if I'm just trying to write y of 1, I'm getting 10. So if it's the 0 index, this is the first index, so y of 1, I'm getting 10. Don't worry, this, like everything, I will be taking deeply once we move to data structures. As of now, I'm just giving brief introduction. Okay, and I'm moving ahead, so it's not nothing I need to go in depth today. Any questions in understanding a data structure called list?
Since the list is mutable, can we change the type as well?
Yes, if you see, like, I can change my first index value, third index value, anything I can do, and we will be seeing those things in detail at a later. Okay, so let's come over here. Okay, so earlier if you see, the value was 10, now I have replaced to Sora.
Okay.
Okay, don't worry, so all these things are at a later part, so I'm just giving today's like very basic introduction to all the concepts.
So, Seth, it is only always a one dimension only or multi-dimensional?
Yes, it has a multi-dimensional, it has 2D also, it has 3D also. Python is
Okay.
like, again, we can write multi-dimensional also.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so again we have one more data structure which they have provided us, is nothing but a tuple. Okay, so let's copy whatever we can copy and paste just to save some time. Okay, so what tuple is saying? Tuple is also an ordered sequence of items. Okay, the difference is tuples are immutable in nature. Okay, which means that they cannot be changed. Okay, so we got one difference, as they are immutable. So if we want to write the data which we don't want to change, so tuples are used to write protect data, which means that, let's say if I want to write some data which will not change, so at that moment of time I can use tuple, and as my type of data will not change, they are faster, because internally the typecasting or conversion or code manipulation won't happen, right? So that's why tuples are considered to be faster than list. Okay, because they cannot change dynamically, and if you remember, Python is dynamically typed language. Why it is Python is dynamically typed language? Because it tests your code during the runtime, not at compile time. Okay, all these keywords, you need to say these keywords and you need to understand these keywords. Cool. Again, it is separated by comma, no changes. It is separated by comma, but enclosed in parenthesis. Okay, if you remember earlier up, so it was enclosed in square brackets. Now this is enclosed in parenthesis. Same thing, we can use slicing operators to extract the data. Again, this will be taken care nicely. As of now, this is just an introduction. So we can use slicing operators to extract an item or range of elements from a given tuple. Okay, and again the indexing will start from 0, so no changes. Okay, so this is like, any questions in this? So let's define a small tuple quickly, and let's copy this piece of code and let's write it over here. Okay, so this is like, I just need to change and similarly I need to change. Okay, let's copy this. So again, like today I have kept very basic, just to make like basics slowly we'll try to go in deep, don't worry. Okay, so again, like if you remember earlier when I was trying to update the values, okay, so let's try to change. Okay, so what it is telling is tuple object does not support item assignment, which means that they are immutable in nature. Okay, just good to know, means like again, like I'm just giving a very high level knowledge with small definitions and example. Moving ahead, all the slicing, all those things, how different methods for each data structure, I will take later. Any questions in list tuple? We have one more data structure, and that data structure is dictionary. Okay, now few things will change. Dictionary is an unordered collection of key value pairs. Okay, key value, I will tell you what is key value with small example. Okay, they are defined or they are enclosed. Okay, they are enclosed in curly braces. Okay, they are enclosed in curly braces. Okay, with each item can be of key value pair. If we want to get the dictionary values, okay, so we use key to retrieve the respective values. Okay, I will tell you what they are trying to mean, what they are trying to say us, and it's always like it will have key and it will have a value separated with a comma. Okay, and this will be enclosed in like curly braces. Sorry. Okay, let's try to understand with a small example. So let's say I'm trying to define a dictionary. Okay, so the key is something and the value is something. And again, like one more important point, 5. So key cannot be uh, key cannot be duplicated, which means that key cannot be repeated. Okay, it can repeat, but again but its values should be different. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, okay, I can write, I'll show you with an example of this demonstration. Okay, so it can be duplicated, so let's not write that. Key can be duplicated or repeated, but its values should be different, otherwise they will overwrite. How? We'll try to see with an example. Okay, let me write a key, and also one more point. Let me slowly points are written. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is key can be of any type. Okay, so if you see, I just showed. Okay, so here I'm trying to show one key. This can be of numeric, this can be of string, it can be of any type. Those probabilities are welcome. So let me copy this. Okay, so this can be like string, or let me just paste this, and let's write a small demonstration. So here I'm just writing, let's say 10, and the value is something, let's say 10, something like this. Or let's say here I'm trying to write name, and here I'm trying to write set. Okay, so now if you see here, my type is so key is string, and here so it can be of any type. That's what I meant to say. Okay, let's try to see with small examples. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say, what I was saying is, let's say I'm trying to define a key, and that is self. Okay, let's define one more key and one more value. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to define, let's say, year. Okay, and it's not mandatory, so let's say 2021. Okay, let's see. So when I'm trying to do, okay, when I'm trying to see the type of X, okay, it is giving me a dictionary. Okay. Also, what I can do is, let me copy this and paste this. I can define this Y. Let me change this to 2021 and this to year. And let's change this also. Let's copy this, paste this. I just have not removed that. Okay. And when I'm trying to define, see the type of Y, still it is giving. So if you see string and the integer, so key be of any type. Now let's say I'm trying to write January, and let's say here I'm trying to write 2021 colon, and here I'm trying to write, let's say, February. Okay. Now let's say yeah, so we have got this, and let's say I'm trying to print Y. Okay, so what I wanted to remember is, okay, see, if you see, I told like it can be repeated. Okay, so otherwise they will obey. So if you see, my key was same, 2021 and 2021, but the value got overwritten. Okay, so all these are like small points you need to understand. Okay, moving ahead, we will see. Again, I am telling, like, moving ahead, I will be explaining everything in deep, because again, each data structure has a lot to say. Okay, so I'm just going with few basic pointers and giving you what we will be studying a little ahead. Okay? Yeah.
Steph, here we have mentioned that key can be duplicated, but the value should be different.
Yes.
So what does value mean? Is it Jan or the
Yes.
202?
Yes. If you see, now the value is January and the value is February. So my key is repeated, right? But the value is not same. If I'm getting the same key, then whatever the value is that, so the last element value will be written to your key.
So
That's
it is
why
already getting overwritten, correct?
yeah, that's why I said they will be overwritten. Okay? So if you see, keys can be duplicated or repeated. I repeated this key 2021 over here, 2021 here, but its values should be different. Okay, I just kept,
So
yeah.
I'm just getting confused with this statement. Its values should be different.
What is the meaning, like, if you just try to keep January and January over here? Duplicate data? What will be the
No, it
meaning
is
of
all.
this?
It is always overwriting, correct?
Yeah, it is always overriding. So that's why I've just written, like, in my own words, if if keys can be same, but the values can be different when you're trying to define the dictionary.
But anyway, we are not going to get the first value,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
Never.
I think it is more like a key value pair. You give
But
one
what if,
key
yeah.
and
But what if the data,
associated value
what
attached
if
to
the
it.
data from the source you are getting like this, wherein your keys are repeating? Okay, you cannot control that behavior, right?
Okay.
When the data is coming from the source, you cannot control that behavior from the client team. Please be on mute once you ask question, because this is recording, and for other people it would be a disturbance. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, whenever you ask, when you have questions, unmute, ask question, mute yourself, so that there is no disturbance. Okay. Okay, so let's come to the Saurabh's point. What he's trying to, so again, like, see, what my point here to make you all understand is, keys can be duplicated or repeated. Okay, but its values should be different. Otherwise, if I'm, again, even if I get this data from my source or this, I will have no issues with me, because ideally it will be just keeping my last value based on the key, right? Again, it does not have, but what I mean to say, I do not have a control on my source, right? They can send the data like this also, they can send the data like this also. In a similar fashion, the data structure dictionary has given us the flexibility. What flexibility they have given us? You can create a dictionary with the same key, but if it is having the same value, it will pick the last value, and if it is having a different value, whatever that last value is, that will be getting written, yeah, overwritten. to be precise. That's what I meant over here.
Okay.
Okay?
Hi, sir. Pitali this side.
Yes, Mithali.
Yeah, just have this question like we can have only one value for specific key. Is it like that, or we can have multiple values for one key?
See, again, like now, if you see what I have done is now here I can have my list also. Okay. So did I define list? Yeah, I did define list, right? Now if you see, this is like list. In 2021, I am having a list. Inside that list, again I am having a dictionary. So again, like I can play with my properties. So to answer your question, okay, I can have multiple values. Okay, so let's say Mithali. Okay, let's say, okay, and let's say I think like this needs to be enclosed. Or this will be, let's say, then let's say Saurabh, let's say then Sagar. Okay, now if you see in this key I have multiple values, that is Mithali, Saurabh and Sagar. Also one key means like I can assign my tuples, I can assign my list, I can do anything. All the probabilities, permutation and combinations, I can do anything. Does that answer you?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Cool. So far so good. Yeah. Someone unmuted. ठीक है.
Sir, there is one question. Swarup here.
Yes, Saurabh.
If like you have shown this example, names have year 2021 Jan and 2021 Feb. Okay, so we have assigned multiple values to single key.
Right.
Yeah, and when we display it, it will show the latest value. Like in this case, it shows a Feb. But if we want to retrieve the previous one, means first value, then how we can retrieve that?
So which first value? So let's say for 2021, I had like let's say February
And Jan.
and Jan.
So I want to retrieve Jan.
No, see, then again, like, see, you'll have to define the structures in as of now. If you're trying to define your, let's say, let me clear off the screen and let's come back. So this is the one. Okay, sorry, not this one. Or I can just replace that. Okay, see, the basic functionality of dictionary is when you're trying to define a dictionary, and if the key is repeated, by default its value would be overwritten. So I do not have a control to get my previous value. For that, if you want to do that, you will have to define that as a list or a tuple, and then when you are trying to access, okay, so when you will be accessing, like let's say y dot key, sorry, y dot
Yes, sir, I got it.
okay, so when you are trying to do, so if you see, I'm trying to get name also and 21 also, right? So from that, then you will have to reference either January or February. Again, you will have to write small piece of code on top of that. Got it?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So in a straight method, you will not be able to do, because dictionary gives us a functionality. If the key is repeating, the value will be overwritten. But if you want that, so define as a list, call that in a dictionary, and then from that dictionary, whatever values you want to retrieve based on indexing and slicing operator, you can play with it. We'll do all those things once we go into data structures. Okay? I hope that answers your question. So let's not be in a dilemma. Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Let's see the last structure. Let's see the last data structure. That is nothing but a set. As the name suggests, set is an unordered collection of unique items. People coming from SQL background, would be easy to relate. Okay, someone is not on mute. This is like, again, like after saying multiple times, please follow some instructions, because for other people there will be a disturbance in the session recording. Thank you. So the second thing is, set is defined by values, okay, separated by comma, okay, as and they are they are enclosed inside braces. Okay, same way like how your dictionary. Okay, so there's nothing in much. So quickly I will take a small example. Let's say I'm trying to say, let's say 5 comma 10, let's say Swaroop, let's say Obed. Okay, few names like which are coming randomly. Okay, don't get like, so let's say 10, let's say 5, let's repeat Arif again. So okay, so this is just a small set which I have defined, and if I'm trying to do again whatever it is telling, so it is giving me the output. Okay, so that it's a simple, nothing is there in set, so it's a straightforward collection. We don't need to bang much our head. Okay, and there is one more, again, like this does not falls into data structure, which we all know, like boolean. Okay, so boolean represents true, okay, or it represents false. Okay, it's straightforward, so maybe like I will take with more examples later. Okay, so these like are your data structures in addition to the normal or whatever data types which are available with all the languages or databases. Few data structures are being added in Python, and I have just given a small description and introduction with a small explanation with one-liner code to make you understand what does they mean. Okay, so any questions till here?
So this is Akash here.
Yes, Akash.
Dictionary and set are mutable or immutable?
Yes. So if you see, when it comes to dictionary, I can change the values. Okay, so let's go to the dictionary and let's write. So 7. So dictionary. I think dictionary is mutable because I can change the values which I am able to recall. But set is immutable.
How to access individual value from set?
All I will be showing once we move into data structures. Okay,
Okay.
because it's an unordered collection, or it's unordered sequence of items. We will not be able to use the indexing operator because the values will be, the orders of will getting changed at that moment of time. We will be using certain methods. Okay, we'll see that at that moment of time, not now. Okay, okay, so I think like I just need
What
to cover. Yeah.
what is the difference between list and set?
So the difference between list and set is you can just straight away say it's like immutable. Okay, so it's that is ordered, this is unordered, that is mutable, this is unmutable. They can access with like indexes, this cannot be accessed with indexes. So these are like small differentiation which you'll have to say. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so now if we have understood, so now let's understand the
But
operators.
the set you defined, right? X equals to 510 Swaroop Obey Arif. Why did the order cut change here? I mean, when you
See, as
display
I
X
told
here,
you, na, it's an
when it is
unordered collection of unique items.
so randomly, so when you print next time, it will give a different
Yes,
order.
yes,
That
yes,
does
yes.
mean.
I hope it should. No, but mostly like it would be same. It will be considering your whatever the identifier value. See, please be on mute once you ask question. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. So what I was trying, what was the question was? The question is like the elements which are like randomly, yes, but it is reference to the identifier, not every time to your output. That we need to remember. Okay, so it is always referencing to your variable or the value or the placeholder of your identifier. That's why we say it's an unordered collection of item. Okay. Yes, no?
Yes, sir. Set is mutable, right?
Set is, as far as I'm able to recall, set is mutable,
The
but
elements in set is immutable.
yeah, that's what,
But
because we will
set,
import that class and we will make the strings. I'll show you how to do that.
yeah. Can you take that Google page? Saying like you can see that however set is
Yeah.
mutable.
For that, we need to, again, like what I can do is, see, in this set, if I add my list, so that list is mutable, right? So I can change the element of my list, which is a part of my set. That's what they are trying to say to us.
Okay.
Nothing else. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
clear.
Yeah. So Python operators, we all, yeah, sorry. Someone was asking question. Okay. So we all know operators. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay. So let's understand there are different types of operators available to us. Okay. I'll not deep dive into operators because I think, again, let me know if you want this, because I think like we should be, we know like arithmetic operators, assignment operators, comparison operators, then logical operators, okay, then identity operators, then the membership. If you don't have any understanding in this, let me know. Let's go with first, do we have an understanding like what are arithmetic operators? So arithmetic operators like addition, let's say subtraction, multiplication, division. Okay, there is one more thing which is there, like remainder, sorry, floor division and exponent. Let's see that because you might not be knowing that. Okay, so the first four are like common. Let's understand the floor division. Okay, what is floor division? So floor division is nothing but it gives the floor value of the quotient, okay, produced by dividing the two operands. Okay, so that is the definition of this. Let's try to see with a small example, like how does this floor division means to us. Okay, so let's go a little down. Let's say let's define like some value, let's say a of let's say 26, and let's say b of let's say 5. Okay, and then what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to define one more identifier, and then I'm trying to define 4. Okay, so okay, now we all know if we divide like 26 by 5, so it will be like 5.10, or let's say 5.1, right? Not sorry 525, yeah, 5.1, so maybe like or 5.2 at the max if we add 0. 5 2s are 10, right? Are we clear till here? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
So if we
Yes.
divide 26 by 5, okay, so the remain means like the quotient we will be getting, so 5 5s are 25, okay, so 1 is there, okay, if I add 0, so this decimal would be getting added, okay, then 5 2s are 10, this will be my value, okay. When we use a floor division, so what they are telling us is they will use the floor value of the quotient. So this is my quotient, so my output I should get as 5, okay, so that is what they are telling us. Paste this, and if I just try to type C, that is what I'm trying to get. Okay, so it just give me the floor division, whatever, like floor value, seal value. I hope like floor value, seal are good to you. So if we just write like 5.7, okay, and if I try to write seal, by default it will take me to the next digit, that is 6, right? Now if I write like 5.7 and if I try to take my floor, by default it will take me to 5. I hope like ceil and floor we all know. In a similar way, Python has a floor division. So whatever is the floor of that quotient, it will take me to that. Okay? Even if I just change this value to let's say 29. Okay, so let's copy this. Okay, still it is giving me. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. When it comes to exponential operator, okay, this is again one more thing which is giving. So let's say 2 to the exponential power of 3. So what will be the output of this is, so what will happen is in the exponential, so let me first write a small statement. Okay, so let's go over here and let's write exponent. Okay, sometimes I make lots of typo error. Okay, it is an exponent operator, which means that, okay, it is an exponent operator, what means that it calculates first operand to your second operand. Okay, so hopefully like if I just try to write this 2 to the power of 3, so we should get 8. Okay, so 2 2s are 4, 4 2s are 8. So it's just like exponential, like 2 into 2 into 2 is happening. Okay, so it's nothing but exponential value, so nothing is there. So assignment operator, again like assignment operator, so what are the different types of assignment operator to available to us? Yeah, so equal to, okay, then we have plus equal, so let's say equal to, okay, then we have plus equal to, then we have minus equal to, okay, then we have power. Again it will have the same meaning, but if you see there is one new thing over here in Python. Okay, hopefully like you might have seen in other languages also. Okay, if I just write c equals, let's say if I'm trying to do a of 10, let's say b of 20, and if I'm trying to write c equals to a plus b, I'm just trying to get a value something like this. Okay, so what you can do is simply you can just write a plus equals to b, and let's store this into some other variable. I think like this should give me the same. A plus equals to b. Okay, and that is getting added into a, so I should get this. Okay, so let me write that again. So a equals to let's say 20, okay, b equals to 10. So what I'm trying to do is in a simple statement, what I'm trying to write is nothing but c equals to a plus b. Okay, so when I'm trying to print my c, same thing, what I can do is I can just write a plus equals to b. How we need to identify this? Okay, how we need to read this is, okay, these are my two operands and in between I have operators. Okay, so what is this? A plus b, that is a, that is 20, b is 10, so 20 plus 10 is 30, that is getting assigned to my first operand. So that's why if I just print my a, I'm trying to get my a as 30. Okay, so this is how your assignment operator works. Okay, again that will go with minus. You explore all those things because these are like very basic and general. I don't want to go into much depth into these things. Okay, when it comes to assignment operator, we have equal to, not equal to, then we have less than or equal to, then we have greater than or equal to, then we have greater than, then we have less than. Okay, you know all these comparison operators as well. Okay, and again like we will be writing assignments using this assignment operators also. So maybe like at that moment of time, you will be able to recall. Still, like if you have any questions on this, WhatsApp group is available, and again, like you can ask questions today, tomorrow, and moving forward any moment of time. Okay, logical operator, we have and, or not. We all know and has to satisfy both the conditions. When it comes to or, a single condition. When it comes to not, we can do vice versa of that. Okay, so these are straightforward operators, nothing. Then any idea on identity operators, like is, then is not. Okay, so there are some identity operators which is nothing but is and is not. Do we have any idea, or should I explain this?
Pointer.
I just missed.
Is it pointer?
Is it pointer?
Reference to a particular variable?
Yes. It references to the some variable. Yeah, same thing like that. Okay. And the final thing is like when it comes to membership, then we have in, then we have not in. Okay. So these are like different types of assignment operators, arithmetic operators, logical operators, comparison operators. So you will have to play with all these things. Okay. So any questions? Like I've just covered like very basic things just to get you all familiar and recall all your Python concepts for people who know. For people who don't know, there might be some new learning to them, and hopefully from tomorrow onwards we'll start like playing with decisions like looping, if else conditions, and then nested. All those things will come slowly and steadily. So this is for today which I have planned. Very basic thing just to get familiar and introduction to Python. Any questions you have for me? What I'm planning is to, so I'll just stop the recording.